Let's get started with our first news. Ian Garry has opened up about the worst possible scenario he believes could happen when he faces Islam for the welterweight title at UFC 330 on August 15th. According to Ian, the nightmare scenario would be spending 25 minutes trapped underneath Islam, unable to create space, unable to get back to his feet, and ultimately losing in a fight that becomes a complete grappling battle. Ian openly acknowledged that Islam is a phenomenal wrestler and an elite grappler. He explained that if you give Islam the opportunity to stay on top and constantly use his wrestling, he can completely suffocate his opponent. In Ian's words, Islam can feel like a weighted blanket, making it incredibly difficult to move or escape. And for Ian, that's simply not an exciting way to fight. He believes being held down for the entire fight wouldn't be fun for him, wouldn't be fun for Islam, and, most importantly, wouldn't be fun for the fans watching at home. Ian also pointed to Islam's previous title victory as an example of what he wants to avoid. He believes Islam showed exactly how effective that strategy can be when he controls the fight from the top position and gives his opponent very little room to work. For Ian, that is the absolute worst-case scenario. He clearly understands the challenge ahead. To beat Islam, he will need to prevent him from settling into his wrestling and grappling game, while forcing the fight into areas where Ian feels he can make the biggest difference. With the welterweight title on the line, Ian knows that one thing is certain: he cannot afford to let Islam control the fight for 25 minutes. Move on to another news, and this one involves Paddy Pimblett, Ilya, and a very unusual collector's item from the UFC White House event. It appears that Paddy was the person who purchased Ilya's corner stool from his fight against Justin Gaethje. The UFC recently held an auction featuring the corner stools used by both Ilya and Gaethje during their highly anticipated matchup. Paddy then took to Instagram and shared a photo of himself holding Ilya's stool. In the caption, he simply called it a collector's item, but the next slide revealed just how much he was willing to pay for this unique piece of UFC history. According to Paddy, he spent an incredible $13,700 to get his hands on the stool. That's certainly not something you see every day. While most fans might buy signed gloves, fight-worn memorabilia, or championship merchandise, Paddy decided to take home the actual stool that Ilya used in his corner during the fight. But the story didn't stop there. Paddy also appeared to address comments surrounding Ilya's decision to stop the fight from his corner. During a discussion, Paddy was asked about the idea that Ilya had quit when his team decided the fight was over. Paddy made it clear that he doesn't see things that way. He explained that if his own coach ever told him the fight was finished, he wouldn't simply accept it and walk away. Instead, Paddy said he would insist on going back out there because, in his view, fighters don't quit on the stool. His message was simple: fighters are supposed to keep fighting. Whether fans agree with Paddy's opinion or not, there's no denying that spending $13,700 on Ilya's corner stool is one of the most unexpected purchases we've seen come out of the UFC White House event. Move on to another news, and this time, Colby Covington is refusing to wrestle Belal Muhammad. Over the weekend at RAF 1, Belal Muhammad defeated Ben Askren, while Colby Covington defeated Arman to become the ARAF Cruiserweight Crossover Champion. Following the event, RAF announced that Colby and Belal would headline RAF 12 on August 22nd. However, things quickly became heated between the two fighters during the post-event press conference. The confrontation reportedly escalated when Belal threw a kick toward Colby before security rushed in to separate them. Now, Colby is claiming that he wants nothing to do with the matchup. Speaking in an interview with Submission Radio, Colby said that as the champion, he believes he has the right to call the shots. He claimed that he made an executive decision after speaking with the people in charge of RAF, saying that they would be moving away from the Belal matchup. According to Colby, the main reason is what happened during the press conference. He criticized Belal for talking about being a man of the people and wanting to set a good example for kids, only to allegedly stand up moments later and throw a soccer kick at him. Colby described the incident as completely unprofessional, calling Belal's behavior disgusting and accusing him of acting like a delinquent. But Colby didn't stop there. He also claimed that Araf already knows he could beat Belal in a wrestling match in 60 seconds or less. However, he believes Belal wouldn't actually wrestle him and would instead try to turn the contest into a fight. Colby then questioned whether Belal is even a big enough star to generate the attention he wants for his next title defense. He insisted that Raf needs big draws and said Arman deserves a rematch following their previous encounter. Colby made it clear that if Arman wants the rematch, that's the fight he wants next. He said he plans to prove that he is the best wrestler on the planet and the greatest crossover athlete in Raf history. If Arman doesn't accept the rematch, Colby claims there is already a long list of potential opponents waiting. He mentioned names like Michael Chandler, Tyron Woodley, and even Kamaru Usman, suggesting that a trilogy fight could potentially happen. For now, though, Colby's message is clear. He is moving away from Belal, and he wants Arman next. Move on to another news, and Paddy Pimblett is making it very clear that his ultimate goal is becoming UFC champion. Paddy is riding a huge wave of momentum after securing a spectacular finish over Benoit Saint-Denis, putting the entire lightweight division on notice. But despite all the attention surrounding his latest victory, Paddy says there is only one thing that truly matters to him: winning UFC gold. The Liverpool fighter has made it clear that he is willing to fight absolutely anyone if it brings him one step closer to becoming the undisputed world champion. And that could even mean finally settling his long-running rivalry with former champion Ilya. Paddy has also been looking toward the top contenders in the lightweight division, and one name he specifically mentioned is Charles Oliveira. Paddy spoke with confidence about the potential matchup and explained how he sees the fight playing out. According to Paddy, if Charles decides to take the fight to the ground and try to grapple with him, he believes he can lock up a submission of his own. However, Paddy also expects that Charles might choose a completely different approach. Instead of spending 5 rounds battling on the ground, Paddy believes the two could simply stand in the middle of the octagon and trade punches. If that happens, Paddy predicts their fight could turn into an absolute 5-round war. And with both Paddy and Ilya looking to make major statements on their way toward another title opportunity, the possibility of a grudge match between the two appears much closer than it did just a few months ago. Paddy also addressed the criticism he receives after every victory. He believes people constantly move the goalposts whenever he proves his doubters wrong. Before his fight, critics claimed Benoit was too powerful, had better grappling, and would dominate Paddy. But after Paddy won, those same people started saying Benoit was never that good in the first place. Paddy says he simply doesn't care. As long as he keeps winning, getting paid, and moving closer to his dream, people can say whatever they want. His ambition is simple. Paddy wants to become the first world champion from Liverpool. He believes it's his destiny, and whether it takes 1 more fight or 10 more fights, Paddy is convinced he will become a world champion. And when it comes to his next opponent, his message is even simpler. Justin, Charles, Ian Garry, or anyone else in his way, Paddy says they can all get it. Move on to another news, and Colby Covington has now claimed that he is pulling out of his upcoming wrestling clash with Belal Muhammad after their explosive altercation. The tension between the two fighters had been building throughout the week after both picked up major victories in Milwaukee. Colby defeated Arman in the main event, while Belal took down Ben Askren in the co-main event. But instead of celebrating their wins, the situation quickly became personal. Colby spent days taking shots at Belal, reportedly even bringing his wife into the trash talk leading up to the event. And, true to his reputation, Colby continued pushing the limits during the post-fight press conference. That appeared to be the final straw. Belal suddenly snapped, jumped out of his seat, and charged toward Colby. In the middle of the chaos, Belal even threw a kick at Colby before security guards immediately rushed in and separated the two fighters. With the rivalry now completely out of control, RAF officials quickly announced that Colby and Belal would settle their differences in a championship wrestling match at RAF 12 next month in Cleveland. But Colby claims he has other plans. During an interview with Submission Radio, Colby revealed that he had made what he called an executive decision to move away from the Belal matchup. Colby explained that he spoke with IRAF officials and pointed out that he is also a shareholder in the company, claiming he has the authority to make decisions like this. He then criticized Bilal for what happened at the press conference. According to Colby, Bilal was talking about being a man of the people, caring about kids, and wanting to be a good example. But moments later, Colby claims Bilal stood up and launched what he described as a sucker kick before attempting to attack him. Colby called the incident disgusting and accused Bilal of acting like a delinquent and a criminal. He also insisted that there is no professionalism on Bilal's side. And Colby remains confident that if the wrestling match actually happened, he would defeat Bilal in 60 seconds or less. Move on to another news, and Dana White has reacted to Kamaru Usman's performance following his dominant decision loss to Du Plessis. Despite coming up short against a much bigger opponent, Usman earned massive praise from the UFC boss for accepting such a difficult challenge. Dana made it clear that he doesn't believe this performance means Usman's career is over or that he should be thinking about retirement. Instead, Dana believes Usman still has plenty left in the tank. Usman himself appears to share that confidence. The former welterweight champion still believes he has the skills and experience to compete at the highest level of the sport. There is also speculation about whether Usman could eventually return to the welterweight division. He recently picked up a major victory over Joaquin Buckley during his last appearance at 170 pounds, so moving back down remains a possibility. Dana was also asked about the future of Conor, but he made it clear that there is nothing new to discuss right now. According to Dana, Conor needs to undergo knee surgery before anything else can happen. After the surgery, he will need to complete physical therapy and take the necessary time to recover. Only once doctors give Conor the green light to begin hardcore training again will Dana be ready to discuss his potential return. When the conversation returned to Usman's performance, Dana was extremely positive. He pointed out that Usman stepped into the fight against a much bigger opponent and still delivered a strong performance. Dana also praised Usman's durability, emphasizing that the former champion still has an incredible chin. Most importantly, Dana rejected the idea that Usman is finished. He doesn't believe this loss means Usman should retire. Instead, Dana said Usman simply needs to go home, rest, heal his body, and then figure out what comes next. For now, the UFC boss believes Usman still has something left to offer, and his future remains open. Move on to another news, and Dustin Poirier has some very strong advice for Michael Chandler following his recent loss to Mauricio Ruffi. During a recent show, Dustin addressed Chandler's future after reports suggested that the former lightweight title challenger could be considering a move up to the welterweight division. And Dustin clearly doesn't believe that's the right move. The two fighters have had their differences in the past, but Dustin explained that they have already buried the hatchet and shook hands. However, that didn't stop him from giving Chandler some brutally honest advice. Dustin questioned what Chandler is thinking, and then brought up the subject of retirement. He jokingly suggested that Chandler should retire, but then quickly clarified that the thought actually came to his mind because he genuinely believes it might be time for Chandler to consider walking away from the sport. According to Dustin, Chandler has already been taking significant damage while competing at lightweight. So if fighters at 155 pounds are already giving him serious problems, Dustin doesn't understand why moving up to 170 pounds would make things any easier. In fact, he believes the opposite could happen. The welterweight division is filled with bigger, stronger athletes, and moving up in weight doesn't automatically mean the competition becomes less dangerous. For a veteran fighter like Chandler, who has been involved in countless wars throughout his career, Dustin appears to be concerned about the long-term consequences of continuing to compete at the highest level. Chandler has built a reputation as one of the most exciting and fearless fighters in MMA, but Dustin's message is clear. If the smaller lightweight fighters are already causing major problems, moving up to face naturally bigger opponents may not be the solution. Instead, Dustin believes Chandler should seriously think about whether continuing his career is worth the punishment his body has already endured.